The day after two of the most prominent and well-respected faces of the Aadmi party, Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan, were ousted from the party's decision-making panel, the Political Affairs Committee, another senior leader of the Aadmi party, Mayank Gandhi, has gone public with his dissent against how the two leaders were shunted out. He said that while he had accepted that both leaders could be allowed to step down, there was a formal resolution moved to actually vote them out, and this had let down thousands and thousands of Aadmi party volunteers. Is the Aadmi party now fully a one-man party as alleged by Prashant Bhushan? Does it smack of the high command culture that so many people within the party have expressed a concern about? And what will Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan do next? Joining us now is one of the most well-respected voices that we have in this country, who was a psephologist and a political analyst well before he became a politician, Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra ji, thank you for talking to us. I must start by asking you how difficult the last few days have been for you. There must be a deep sense of anguish, a deep sense of hurt.
As a matter of fact, Barkha, they've been very humbling days in ways which is somewhat different from what you're describing. I know for the media, the big events, the decisions, and these things were important. For me personally, what was important was these hundreds and thousands of messages that have poured in. These are people I've never known in my life. These are people I have never interacted. Messages of support, messages of solidarity, and in the last 24 hours, messages expressing anguish, sadness, but also support for some of the principles that Prashantji and I have been talking about.
No, I can believe that there has been an outpouring of support. I know a lot of us who have known you in your previous avatars were also taken aback at these developments. But Yogendraji, there has to be a sense of hurt. You're human. This is a party you're associated with, from its inception. So I can't believe you if you say there is no hurt. There must be some pain, some sense of betrayal, some sense of anguish, some set of feeling let down.
My father talks about being sthitipragya, which is the same in success, in failure, in warmth, in cold. I don't quite manage to do that. As you say rightly, we are human. And I can't claim to be above that. But as I said, look, there are moments in politics when you feel, why am I here? People like me who made a transition somewhat late in their life. Although I must say that I see my life today is actually based on whatever I did earlier. So in a sense, my life so far was a preparation for what I'm doing today. So it's not a sudden twist or something of that kind. But yes, to be prepared for some of the muck that comes is very hard. It came during the election campaign. It came more recently. And I haven't developed that sort of thick skin, and I don't wish to develop that. Which comes with it. The only thought that sustains, one Barkha is the idea that if you wish to do what you wish to do, which is to say, if politics is Yug Dharma, and if you want to do something to change this country, then this mucky road is the only gully that you have to go through. And if everyone who believes in honesty, if everyone who believes in integrity gets so disgusted with that little muck and walks away, then we would have the kind of politicians we've always had in this country. So some of us will have to take it. I'm not just the right person to do so, but I sustain myself with some of these thoughts.
Yeah, but when you say that it could be politics as usual if people like yourselves didn't hang on even when you want to leave, I must ask you, has there been a moment in the last few weeks or the last few months when you have thought of leaving politics, when you have paused and said, as you said, what am I doing here? I'm not cut out for this. I'm the wrong man for this. I was probably happy as a psephologist understanding and observing politics rather than actually being a participant in it.
As you said, I'm human. I can't deny that there were moments, not in the last 4 or 5 days, but before that there were moments. 2 or 3 things which I find myself quite incapable of doing. One is that a politician should be a very social animal. Now, I was actually almost infamous in my own family for not attending family functions. And a politician is supposed to go to all Shraddh, every birthday, every this. Yeah. That's something I just find myself incapable of doing. Second is recalling names and faces. I'm pretty bad at it, and therefore almost disqualified to be so. And third, as I said, some of this muck and intrigue and those petty things that happen very often. And then fourth, there is the sheer temptation and delight of books.
Yeah.
These days, there are times that, honestly, Barkha, I mean, this is almost shameful to admit, but there are times when I just read the newspapers only to see if there is some reporting or misreporting about us, my party or something. That's the only time I get. I don't even get to read editorials. Yeah. So this is what makes me feel bad at times. What am I doing? I'm often, there's very little input in terms of ideas and so on that goes on. So yes, there are moments of that kind, but then one has to go on.
But respond to what another of your colleagues, Mayank Gandhi, has raised today, saying that you and Prashant were ready to step down from your posts in the Political Affairs Committee, but he's horrified on the behalf of thousands of volunteers at the manner in which this was done and how you were literally shunted out. And he says that even though he was asked not to speak about this meeting, he feels that he has to. He remembers those Lokpal agitation days when Kapil Sibal, as minister, used to tell Arvind Kejriwal, don't go out and speak about this. And Arvind always used to say it's important in the interest of transparency that it be spoken about. So how do you see Mayank's comments on how you and Prashant were shunted out?
Barkha, I'll have to disappoint you. We took a solemn promise last evening after the meeting that we shall not talk about the proceedings of the meeting. I know Mayank Bhai has written about it and he has given reasons why he thinks he must write about it. I, however, will have to stick to the promise that we had made. I won't be able to talk very much about the proceedings of the meeting yesterday.
Now, you said in the beginning of this interview, Yogendra ji, that you are happy that at least you and Prashant Bhushan have stood by the founding principles of the Aam Aadmi Party. In an interview to me, Prashant said that among these principles was not to become like any other party, was to have inner party democracy, to not become a one-man show, to not encourage high command culture. Do you feel disheartened today that the party that you helped found and build has veered away from those principles, that today it is in danger of becoming a one-man party, and it does have a high command culture very akin to the Congress party, where there's a kind of coterie that's taking all the decisions?
I'm not disheartened, Barkha. The very fact that we are talking about it here on this show gives me heart. Here is one party in the country where these questions are being talked about. And it's not merely because of me or Prashant. I think that would be very presumptuous on the part of two of us to think, because people have described the two of us as conscience keepers and so on. And I find it amusing. I mean, it's not that the two of us are that. It's just thousands and thousands of volunteers remember why they came to this movement in the first place. That's what they are writing in the last few days. In Congress, they may have forgotten it's 100-year-old stuff. They don't remember when those movements took a turn. In Samajwadi Party, I think most workers have even forgotten what the word Samajwadi stands for. In Aam Aadmi Party, fortunately, because we are young, volunteers remember why they came. And they remind everyone of why they are here. Their voices matter, they are strong, and I would trust them more than Prashantji or me. I think it's their voices which have kept this party on course. Yes, in the course of politics, you can lose your balance occasionally. Aam Aadmi Party has struggled. I mean, I can confess to you, Aam Aadmi Party has confessed in combining these two ideals. One, that of remaining viable, successful, winnable, and second, being ethical, different, ideal. And you can get this balance wrong off and on. And it is our duty to try and correct it. And I really think that if this entire episode and our departure has served to highlight some of these principles, then it has actually served the principles, served the cause.
But you know, you said that the Aam Aadmi Party is much bigger than any individual, that the idea of AAP is bigger than any individual. But it would seem to some people today that just like in the BJP, Modi has become bigger than the party, which is often a descriptive used for the BJP. Arvind today has become bigger or synonymous with the Aam Aadmi Party. Do you accept that? Do you believe today Kejriwal is the Aam Aadmi Party?
Arvind is an icon today. He's an icon of honest politics. He's an icon of hopes. He is a symbol of hopes for millions. You know, I mean, right down to villages. I heard this from a village close to mine, that they were playing tash, you know, cards, and this person had the ace of spade, hukam ka ikka. And you know, when everyone had played their cards, this little man brings out his card and says, "Ye le mera Kejriwal." This is the status that Arvind has acquired in the country. So, which is actually great, because movements need symbols and personalities.
Yogendra ji, isn't there a danger with this cult status, this cult following? There is a danger, isn't there? Arvind said when the government was sworn in.
That's the other half of what I was saying.
Sorry, please complete.
Yeah, which is that yeah, there is this great iconic stature. At the same time, to assume therefore that organizationally the entire party can be reduced to that would be unfortunate. I would never think of that. I mean, all of us have grown in politics opposing personality cult. Mrs. Gandhi's cult, Rahul Gandhi's cult, Rajiv Gandhi's cult, we've all opposed it. And in the Aam Aadmi Party, the whole spirit of Aam Aadmi Party is not to reduce this party to being any other party. So that's not what our constitution says, that's not what the spirit. And I'm very sure that while electoral politics requires images, faces, and ordinary people do look at issues in terms of personalities, and sometimes media also looks at all these things in terms of personalities, but in the Aam Aadmi Party we don't, and I'm sure this spirit will trump over everything else.
But is that still the case today? Do you not feel that there is now a real danger, as Prashant has also flagged, of this becoming a personality-oriented party, very much Arvind Kejriwal's decisions prevailing?
I wouldn't draw all these conclusions. I wouldn't draw conclusions based on one incident. And my training, again from my father, says, never draw conclusions from something that affects you personally. That's the basic conclusion, so I would wait.
Okay, now I want to ask you, one of the things that Prashant said to me was that there has been a communication breakdown between him and Arvind Kejriwal. He said we haven't even spoken for many days, though he said I'd be willing to speak to him, but it hasn't happened. Do you face a similar communication breakdown, or are you and Mr. Kejriwal at least on talking terms?
Of course we are on talking terms. You know, there's two different things. One is being on talking terms, the other is of talking every day. So there can be other kinds of issues, but to say we are not on talking terms, no, that's not true at all.
When was the last time you spoke to him? When was the last time you spoke to him?
I mean, I've faced this question so often, I feel I should keep a log of who I spoke to.
No, come on. You're now avoiding the question, Yogendra, which is not like you at all. You're avoiding the question, which is not like you. You give very straight answers, so I would expect the same straight answer right now.
You know, post-election result, both of us met, we hugged, we congratulated, we said, okay, so we've achieved what we wanted to. After that is the government formation phase, and frankly I keep some distance from all these things, government positions, ministers and such like. And my message to Arvind has always been, and this was exactly the case when we had the government last time, let me know if there's something that I can do constructively, otherwise I'll go away and do my work. Look, on the larger question of personality and communication, there could be an issue. Admiral Ramdas has written to us, he has chided us, he has said we should have better communication.
Yes.
And this does happen in politics. And I really sometimes wish that there was no 24/7 media which would monitor these things every day, and the possibility of these things improving gets reduced further when these things happen. But I don't think personality is the real issue. I don't think personality equations are the real issues here. I think the real big questions are the questions that we, at least from our side, from Prashant Bhushan and my side, are these larger questions. Questions of internal democratic procedures in the party to be strengthened, issues about ethical norms of the party being stringently implemented, about state units of the party having autonomy, and about volunteers having a real say in the decision making of the party. Now, we realize that we are a young party. We cannot expect all the things to happen overnight. But all that Prashant Bhushan have asked for is that we should at least start walking in the right direction, or at least we should be facing the right direction. That's what we are trying. And I would not say that we are not succeeding. Along with all other decisions that have taken place, you would have noticed that there are, while everyone highlighted our ouster, the party has also taken some other decisions, which are very, very good decisions. So I continue to hope, I continue to believe that we would, this movement, which is not owned by anyone, not the least by people like me, this movement which is owned by thousands of lakhs of volunteers, their faith and aspirations will be reflected in the manner in which this party evolves. Aam Aadmi Party is a new kind of experiment in politics, and I continue to hope that the experiment will keep to its original spirit.
One of the other controversies in the last week, Yogendra ji, has been the Indian Express revealing that one of your conversations with a journalist was actually taped by an Aam Aadmi Party leader, where you were outed by a reporter as a source. You and the Indian Express have exchanged your own perspectives on this. Are you comfortable with this idea of actually secretly recording a journalist's conversation?
I've written on this question, and I have said that in this case there is a double violation of ethical norms, and it so happened that I was the victim of both the violations. The journalist shouldn't have been talking the way she did. She was in any case holding me responsible for things that I never said, and recording those conversations and making them public for intra-party gains, etc. This is simply not done. I mean, so there's a double violation from both ends. Incidentally, on that question, we now have a beautiful piece written by S.P. Singh, who was present in that very breakfast conversation. It's come out in the magazine Caravan, which is a first-hand account of what actually happened, and it truly establishes that much of what was being talked about in that so-called sting never took place.
Let me end by asking you, you liken politics today to an aag ka darya. Do you sometimes worry that this aag ka darya will make you drown in it?
Well, when you're passing through it, you never know. It does look at times that you would drown in it. And the fact is that many people do drown. And what supernatural qualities I have that I would survive. The only thing that keeps you going is a certain faith, although I must say I'm not a believer, I don't do puja in temples and so on. But there is a certain deep faith that truth will trump, faith that virtue can be brought to fruition, that virtue and energy can be brought together. This is what Aam Aadmi Party symbolizes. And somehow I have this deep, deep faith that from all these problems, all the apparent crisis, something good and beautiful will emerge. I may or may not be there when it gets to that fruition, but how does that matter?
Thank you so much. Yogendra Yadav on his ouster and his plans ahead, saying the Aam Aadmi Party cannot be owned by any one individual. The organisation and the idea is bigger than anybody, be it him, Prashant Bhushan or Arvind Kejriwal. Taking a quick break, and the news continues on the other side.